Hello and welcome to Page and Screen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Page and Screen with John Paul Sarney. And amazingly enough, summer is over, which is really too bad. But the good news is I get to call my friend Carrie, Boston book fanatic. If you have seen her on the Instagrams and the socials, Boston book fanatic is going to be joining me now to talk a little bit about what we can be expecting in the bookshops for the rest of the season, which arguably is the best time of the year for the books anyway. So, Carrie, Boston book fanatic, welcome to the program again.
Hey, hey, thank you so much for having me again, JP. I'm really excited to do this again with you and chat more books for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you very much. Well, before we get into the list, though, I have to ask you because obviously in the summertime, it feels like we have more time to read. I feel like summer always just like goes in a flash anyway. I mean, here in Europe, it was like scalding hot, and now all of a sudden it's almost, winter. But that's what happens. So this summer, I hope you got some reading done. Is there anything that you loved and adored and that maybe surprised you?
Yeah, so many things. I didn't read as much as I would have liked to this summer, and I think I might have read this one in like April, but definitely one of my favorites of the year. Got it right here, called The Road to Tender Hearts by Annie Hartnett. This was my first time reading this author, and I love her. I want to read all of her books now. It's like a funny, heartfelt, sort of found family road trip story about an older man who is traveling cross country to reunite with his high school crush. He brings along his adult daughter, two orphaned kids, and a cat who can predict death. So if that tells you enough about sort of how funny and silly, but bittersweet it is, highly, highly recommend.
I like that, but to be fair, I feel like all cats can probably predict death. I feel like I've never met a cat who can't be like, I think they all sort of know what's coming. Most cats like carry tarot cards on them. They just know what's going to happen.
I think that's right. My cat definitely does that. So
Well, nice. I mean, my favorite book of the summer that I was really surprised by, and I read it because Ann Patchett wouldn't stop screaming about it, so I had to read The Correspondence by Virginia Evans. And this is one that people were talking about a little bit, and I just remember seeing the cover and just remembering these two birds, and so I have to read that. But the pitch is it sounds a little light because it's a story told entirely in letters from this woman who's getting on in years, and she has this a bit of a change going on in her life, and we get to watch all of that happen in real time with her family, with her neighbors, looking back on her career, looking to the future. And it is just one of those rare books that made me laugh and cry and smile, and weirdly could not stop thinking about it for quite some time. So that's one that I loved, and I think you read it too.
I did. I read that one and absolutely loved it. I think I read it in a day. I just couldn't put it down. And it wasn't one, it wouldn't have necessarily jumped out at me, sort of kind of what you're saying. And I was seeing it everywhere. And I said, I have to read this. And I'm so glad I did. It was really, really good. I think, is that one a debut too? I think it is.
It is. It's a debut novel, and online, I think in one of the interviews, Virginia Evans was talking about how she was, quite close to the edge, that she had really tried and was knocking on all the doors, and it took a lot of chutzpah to get it to happen. So I'm thrilled that it did, and I can't wait to see what she does next. And I mean, that's the great thing about debut authors is when you find someone, you feel like you have like this ownership over them, and you feel like you've begun the journey together, and you can't wait for their second book. So I'm excited to see what she does next. But now, in terms of the fall season, so if we're talking September basically through Christmas or thereabouts, or at least through November, we're just going to go in order and talk a little bit about the books that are interesting, and we'll put down below if you want to go take a look at the full list, which is even more extensive than what we'll talk about today. The Page and Screen page, which is on bookshop.org, where you can order books online, but a percentage of the money does go to independent bookshops around the country. So it's a great place to order your books. You have something that's coming out in September that you're keen on.
Yes. Coming on September 9th is Play Nice from Rachel Harrison. Rachel Harrison writes these sort of like horror comedy novels. They're really fun and quirky and over the top and dark. And I've loved all of them. In this one, a woman revisits her childhood home after the death of her mother, and she starts sort of fixing it up to sell it. And during that process, she's forced to confront the stories that her mom had always told, that the house was possessed by a demon. So I'm really excited by this one, especially for the fall.
Yeah, I think that some of the ones on your list are very fall appropriate, by the way, because they're
I
in
realized I realized after I sent my list that it was very horror heavy, and I think that's just what I crave as we lead into fall. So apologies to anyone who's not into horror, but maybe play nights would be a good entree though for someone who is not a big horror reader.
very good, very good. Well, I'll try to balance that with my list. So the first book that I'm really interested in, and weirdly, it's sort of outside of my genre, but on the 16th of September, Mark Ronson has written a book called Night People: How to Be a DJ in 90s New York City. And I think that he's just so interesting, his career, his life in music. And this is something that just popped into my social media feed, which I probably never would have heard about otherwise. And he was just doing little videos at Foils talking about the books that he loves. So I think this is just interesting. And as I don't know if it's a function of getting older, but I'm just more interested in memoirs and nonfiction and personal stories. So I'm excited to see what he has to say, and especially with that nostalgic thing of, especially, for us looking back at, the 90s music scene and what that was, because there's a lot of nostalgia to be had there for me anyway, maybe for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Nothing beats '90s music, so that sounds great.
Except maybe 80s music, but depends. Also, on the same day, there's two other very big books coming out. One is Kamala Harris has written her book, 107 Days, which is about her very short, quasi or almost road to the White House, I guess. And she's doing a very big book tour, and she's also narrating the audiobook if people want to hear that side of the story. And then one of the biggest, I mean this and literally, biggest books shortlisted or longlisted rather for the Booker Prize is the Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny, by Corinne Desai. And this is the author of The Inheritance of Loss. And it's another one that Ann Patchett has been on about. So whatever Ann Patchett says, we have to follow. But this is, as advertised, it's a story of two young people whose fates intersect and diverge across the continents and years, an epic of love and family, India and America, tradition and modernity, by the author of Inheritance of Loss. So I think that's going to be very interesting. It's one of I think it might have been the only one or one of two books that was not yet published when they announced the Booker Prize long list. And it was a really interesting panel of people this year, including Sarah Jessica Parker, who was voting on who these nominees would be. And I've been tracking a lot of these folks on social media who were very interested in the lists and keeping track of them. And it's really nice to be part of that community that's really celebrating authors in translation lately, and then also the Booker long list. And so we'll see that winnow down as we carry on through the year. But those are three exciting books that are coming out on the 16th of September. And then the next week, the 23rd of September, there's a book coming out from Rizzoli called Andre Leontali's Style is Forever. And it has an intro by Paula Wallace, who's the president of Savannah College of Art and Design, which is my alma mater. And she and Andre were good friends. Andre was on the board at Savannah and was always there during the fashion shows. And I get to spend a little bit of time with him. And he was so lovely and so funny and such an incredible character. And this is a book that is memories of him, but also a look at some of his own fashion, and it is tied into a exhibition of his own garments that are going to be on display in Savannah from the middle of October. So that's coming out from Rizzoli, which I think is going to be really cool. And then the complete other direction, if you want to, instead of looking to the news for terrifying things, there's a book coming out called Goliath's Curse: The History and Future of Societal Collapse by Luke Kemp. And
Oh, geez, Jamie.
I I know, but listen,
Heavy.
here's I know, but it can't all be fluffy butter, right? You have to like
You're
mix
right.
it up a little bit. You have to see what's going on. So I this is the copy, the English copy, the British copy. It's very chunky, but it has been all over the bookshelves in London. So if this is any indication, when it comes out in the US next month, it'll be a big book. Or British people are just more dire about the state of the world. It could go either way. I don't know. But that's Goliath's Curse. And then at the end of the month, there's one that you like, which the title is what I like to do at parties. So tell us what it is.
Same. So this one's called The Irish Goodbye by Heather Amy O'Neill. I haven't seen a lot about it, and it's a debut, but it just jumped out at me, of course, filling my family drama need. So and it was pitched as a family drama for fans of Mary Beth Keane, and I loved Mary Beth Keane's book, Ask Again, Yes. So I was sort of instantly sold on this one. It's about three adult sisters who return to their childhood home for Thanksgiving, and the story is sort of centered around that Thanksgiving weekend as they all revisit and confront a shared tragedy from when they were younger. I love sort of the shortened time period where you're really going to learn a lot about people in a short span of time, and they're sort of revisiting their past and the family element. So I think this one sounds really good.
Very nice. And then as we roll into October, which is exactly the horror month, I don't remember which of these is horror, but the one you want to talk about, the Women of Wild Hill.
Yeah, I this has got to be a perfect October book. It's sort of like paranormal horror, and it's pitched as a story of modern day witches waging war on the patriarchy. I mean, yes, like how could we skip that one, right? I love stories about witches. I've really enjoyed books from this author, Kirsten Miller, before, so I'm really excited about this one. I feel like now that I'm running through this, I have a lot of on my list about sort of three women doing X, Y, and Z. But this one is about three women who return to sort of an ancestral location on Long Island that's said to be inhabited by generations of witches, and they go there to discover their family legacy and fight the patriarchy.
Well, also on that same day, if you want to go in the other direction, I never read My Brilliant Friend and the quartet of the Elena Ferrante books. But as you may or may not know, I am a complete sucker for sprayed edges when it comes to book publishing. And oftentimes you'll see them in romantasy and things like that, but I just do love them. By the way, Dan Jones, who's been on the podcast, this is his new book, Lionhearts. This is the special broken binding edition, which does have sprayed edges. So I just got this. I'm in my sprayed edge sort of thing. But anyway, if you look up and just go on the bookshop.org page for Page and Screen, you'll see all of these books. But you can see the My Brilliant Friend Deluxe Edition, which is coming out. So it's all four books in one volume, and it's got a beautiful sprayed edge to it. And again, it's super chunky, but it's a nice way to have all of the books together. I think that in the summer months we wouldn't be caught dead with something like this because it's basically a big door stopper. But it's really nice when you're cozy and you have what I call the book pillow, the big pillow that sits on your lap because the book is too heavy.
Very necessary.
But I just like that. That brings me joy. Then the following week in October 14th, my friend Stephen Rowley has The Dogs of Venice coming out, which
Yay.
he had originally released. Yeah, who read the Guncle and the Guncle Abroad very recently, and he's just announced his new book, which is coming out in May. But The Dogs of Venice, he originally did as an audiobook only that Neil Patrick Harris narrated, and he has expanded on that a bit, and that's coming out again this middle of October. And it's about a man whose relationship falls apart after 5 years, and he goes to Venice and he befriends a dog, which is lovely, and a lovely sort of throwback to the beginning of Stephen's writing career with books like Lily and the Octopus, and I hope that the dog theme will continue through all of his books because I do love them. So that's something to look forward to as well, on paper, because as much as I love the Audible books and the audio experience, especially when the author reads it themselves, I am still an old fashioned one when it comes to reading. I do like the tactile books and a nice something to hold on to. So that'll be good. And then the following week you have a couple more potentially scary books that you want to get into.
Yeah, sorry. Here's my continued stretch of scary books. So the next one is The Midnight Knock from John Fram. I really loved John Fram's past books, The Brightlands and No Road Home. He's a really interesting writer, and I think he's maybe a little lesser known. So also happy to sort of keep getting his name out there. This one's a locked room thriller with supernatural elements about 8 strangers who are all on the run from something, and they're trapped together in a remote Texas motel, sort of, fighting against the clock to save their lives. I read that it was sort of a good one for fans of Blake Crouch. I love Blake Crouch. So I'm really excited to check this one out. And then the next horror, I don't know if this is the last one, we'll see. But this one is King Sorrow by Joe Hill. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. I don't know if folks know that. He's an award-winning horror writer as well. This one sounds a little odd, but stick with me here. 6 college friends are forced to steal rare books from their school library. That causes them to summon a dragon with whom they make a bargain. And they're then forced each year to select a person to sacrifice to keep the dragon appeased. And it follows those friends over several decades as they live with the consequences of that pact that they've made.
First of all, it's not my wheelhouse necessarily, this genre, but I'm all for it. I mean, isn't this also the original story, or parts of the original story of Saint George slaying the dragon? Didn't Saint George have to slay the dragon because that dragon needed the sacrifice every year? It was like a young woman from the village or something. I feel like that's
Oh,
right.
maybe that's where it stems from. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it. And also I will say, if you like your sprayed edges, Goldsboro Books, which is in London but delivers all over the world, I presume, they have a lovely special edition of this book coming out. So that's something to look forward
Oh,
to.
very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is
Um,
a good beast for the fall. I think it's like 800 pages or something. So,
oh, really?
yeah.
It's such a weird thing. Like, most people are like, I want a short book. I want 200 pages. I'm like, if you tell me that it's 1,200 pages, I'm like, immediately I have to have it.
Yeah.
Um, but there's just something about it, especially in the fall, because you feel like you're gonna cozy up, you're gonna like light candles, and
Totally. Yeah, it's the perfect time.
yeah, it's the perfect time. But also, coming out that same week is a new John Grisham book, The Widow, which the U.S. edition has a lovely cover, and so this is sort of a bit of a return to form for him, but it's also more of a mystery than his other books. So it's not just straightforward legal thriller, but there's some unknown bits and pieces to it. So it sounds really really interesting, exciting. John Grisham's last book, we might have even talked about it together, was the Framed, which was true stories of people who were wrongfully incarcerated. So this, I think that he's had a break from his traditional genre, but this is always nice to go back to. And I think that there are these authors, and we get to another one that you and I both love in a minute, that we like to return to, decades on, because you know exactly what you're getting. And it's like, sometimes it's something brand new, sometimes it's a palate cleanser, whatever it wants to be. But I'm very excited about that. Talk to us about the first week of November. There's a couple that you like. One is not horror. I'm thrilled.
I don't think any of them are horror, actually. Here we go, moving
Okay.
into November, and I'll let people after Halloween step away from the horror reading.
Right.
In early November, coming from a debut author, Brian Schaefer, a book called Town and Country. This is contemporary fiction, and it takes place over 6 months in a small rural town. It centers around a conflict that arises during a congressional race between lifelong residents of the town and gay couples who've moved from the city to this rural town to buy second homes. My friend Maddie in the books tells me I'm going to love this one. It's one of his favorites of the year already, and I really trust his sort of contemporary fiction taste. So I'm really excited about this one. It sounds pretty funny and heartfelt. I think we'd probably both enjoy this one.
No, and by the way, I think that I actually had a digital copy of it that they sent to me, and it expired before I could read it. So now I'm gonna have to go bother someone again about this one, because I'm really looking forward to it. I think it sounds great, and really really fun.
Yeah. Then, still in November, Cursed Daughters from Oyin Khan Braithwaite. This is literary fiction. This is the author of My Sister, the Serial Killer. I don't know if you read that. I think it was maybe 5 years ago. Um, it's literary fiction. It's not horror, but it has some of those dark elements, of course. This one is a family story that follows a woman as she tries to escape a generations long family curse that has doomed the women of her family to never have a peaceful relationship with a man. I haven't really seen much about this, but I loved My Sister the Serial Killer. It sounds sort of like a family story with a hint of mystery, which sounds, interesting and different. So I'm excited to check this one out.
You have a lot of families with curses that you're getting
I
into.
know.
You're
It's
very
really
busy.
I think it is the fall thing, right? Even my family dramas need some sort of curse or supernatural issue. Not all. I do tend to pick more family sagas and not all of these sort of heavier things, but I do think it's just the time of year. But this next one will move us away from that, and this is the one you were talking about, John Irving's new book, Queen Esther, coming in November. I think we've both been John Irving fans forever. So excited that he has a new book coming, and this one revisits the orphanage in Maine from the Cider House Rules. And in this one, the doctor takes in a Jewish child from Vienna whose life has been shaped by anti-Semitism. So this is sort of historical lit fic. And I'm so excited. I'll read anything he writes.
Yeah, I was excited because not least because when his last book came out, and I'm turning my head because whenever I think about the books, I'm trying to look at my bookshelf. The Last Chairlift, I think that he had even said that that might be his last sort of big book, but this isn't enormous, not as big as some of his other ones, but I'm just thrilled that he's still at it and still telling these stories. And again, like you and I have discussed in the past, people like Stephen King who are, going back to their characters that they've loved and their parts of their stories they loved and sort of bringing them back because they can't stop thinking about them. So I'm very eager to read this one. He's been talking about it quite a bit on his social medias and things. And then yeah, so those are all the 4th of November, and then a couple more books the 11th of November, and this will be the end of it. But The Merge, I think this is one of yours.
Yeah, I haven't seen this anywhere yet, sort of on social media. But when I saw it just on Goodreads, it really jumped out at me. So, The Merge by Grace Walker. This is sci-fi. I love sci-fi, dystopian sci-fi, all those kinds of stories. I think I probably talked about some the last time we did this. This is the debut set in a world that's sort of been pushed to the breaking point in terms of resources. And there's this new, highly controversial procedure that's been developed where the consciousness of someone with Alzheimer's can be merged with someone else's. So both minds can sort of live in one body. This just sounds fascinating to me. I love people who come up with these crazy and bizarre ideas. So I'm excited to check this one out.
Excellent. Yeah, I would actually read that one too. So,
Oh,
I'll have to get my hand. Yeah, because I mean, sometimes when things are so out there like that, I quite love it. Um, and then the last one that we want to mention is one that I've already read, which is The Silver Book by Olivia Lang. And I was not familiar with Olivia Lang's work until this was sent to me, and because of the name of the podcast, Page and Screen, this is a story that is set in around Italy, but mostly in Rome and in Venice in 1975, and it's about the world of film, and it's about Fellini and Pasolini, who was killed in 1975, and these sort of incredible glory days of Cinecittà Studios in Rome, where some of the most amazing pieces of Italian cinema were made, but then also what is going on politically in that moment, and it's a bit of a love story with a young man who comes over from England and gets swept up into this whole world. So very brief chapters, but I just tore through this. I adored this book. I think this is really wonderful, and really exciting. So now, yet another author that I have to go read everything that she's ever written, but I'm happy to do it. So those are the list. Those make up the list, rather. But again, if you go to the bookshop.org Page and Screen page, we'll put a link down below. You can see there's quite a lot. I think I put something like 30 or 40 on this list, about 30. So you can see all of those bits and pieces, and yeah, lots to be reading. And this is the best time to do it. I love the fall. I love to tuck in and get cozy, and yeah, it's going to be sweater weather, and we will enjoy it.
I'm very excited. Yes.
But yeah, so that's great. Carrie, Boston Book Fanatic, at Boston Book Fanatic, if you want to follow her on the grams. Are you on TikTok too? Can people follow you on the TikTok?
No, I mean, I do have an account, but I don't make stuff. It's too much work. So just Instagram.
I do the thing where I do the Instagram, and then they're like, "Can we put it on Facebook?" I was like, "Yeah, go ahead. We're already here, so let's just, you know."
Why
Um,
not?
but yeah, it's just like it's, more apps and bits and pieces. So lots to do. But anyway, so check us out and follow us, and we'll put the link to the bookshop.org and also the Substack where I'm reposting some of these videos so people can find other ways to track us down at any moment. And yeah, that's it. So Carrie, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your list. And I'm excited to see what everyone's interested in. And please, let us know what you're reading and what we've missed on the list because there's always more to talk about. Um, in a country in the United States where they publish more than 1,000 books a week, you have to keep track, and you need all the help you can get.
Crazy. Well, thanks so much for having me, JP. This was so fun. I hope we can do it again.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.